So Rahu in Gemini, Ketu in Sagittarius, very powerful axis for the nodes. They each have a different kind of blindness and ignorance, and they're very powerful in this axis. So talking about Rahu in Gemini and Ketu in Sagittarius. So this is one of the most beneficial placements of the lunar nodes in Vedic astrology, because this axis of dual signs really shows where energy shifts very quickly, and this is the nature of Rahu and Ketu as well. And you know, I've done quite a few extensive videos on this lately as I record this in March of 2019, and I explained quite a bit about this axis. In several of the Jyotish texts, Vedic astrology texts, this is said to be the place where Rahu is exalted and Ketu is also exalted, or in their highest place. A few things besides just, of course, the dual nature. You know, Rahu is very much about trying to figure things out, experimenting, trying new things, playing, being curious, because we don't really understand or know very well with Rahu. It's literally where our soul is inexperienced and where we're not sure how something works. So we want to try, and we want to, you know, again, experiment and play, and then form our own conclusions. Basically like, well, I don't really know. Let me see what happens. What happens if I do this? Let me try. That's very much in keeping with Gemini energy. Very much what Gemini is. Let me try this. Let me experiment with this and try this. And that's how we gain a lot of intelligence. We get intelligence through life by trying and experimenting and playing and then seeing what happens. And again, Rahu is very much about experiencing something in the world. We came here to experience something, to live it, not to just think about it, not to just wonder about it, but to do it and to live it. This is what Rahu is. It's that soul's, you know, ascending node. It's the node that's ascending and pushing forward. So we incarnated probably the main sort of subconscious, unconscious force of desire in this lifetime comes from Rahu, from the North Node. If the North Node affects a lot of things, it's going to show a lot of new energy coming into this existence, right? If Ketu has a lot of planets joined it, it shows finishing and ending a lot of karma in this lifetime. So Rahu is about starting new energy and karma. Ketu is about finishing old karma, right? So again, when Rahu is in Gemini, we're very much about, oh, I'm starting new stuff this, you know, in this lifetime. Well, let me see what that means. What does that mean? You know, how does that work? And then, of course, based on all the other things that are affecting, you know, like if it's joined other planets or what house that's in and all that, those things become very important as far as specifics. But that Rahu energy and Rahu nature will show a great benefit when it's in Gemini, right? So if it's Rahu in Gemini, let's say again, like it's Leo, that would be the 11th house. So then you would see that Rahu in Gemini and that playful, curious nature brought into 11th house themes. Let's say it's Libra, it would be 9th house themes, right? And so through this, we'll gain a lot of experience in the world. And that's what we're here to do with Rahu, is experience things, right? Figure it out for ourselves. Ketu, on the other hand, is powerful in Sagittarius because Ketu is where we're letting go of something, where we feel like we've already done that, we've already been there and done that, and we're not looking for new information there. Again, we feel like we're an expert already and that we already know that thing really well. And that can fill us with a bit of sort of disgust and arrogance even, and a kind of hyper focus on something. And so when it's in Sagittarius, again, you know, Sagittarius is very much about our teachings, our beliefs, those pure ideas, and again, those things that, you know, especially our beliefs. It could be religion, but I don't really necessarily like to use that word because it's not always religion, so to speak. It's about those things that inspire us. And especially because Ketu can be sort of, you know, not wanting anything to do with this world, right? Ketu is a part of us that's kind of disgusted with the world to some extent. In Sagittarius, we're hopeful, for one thing, and we're hopeful because of the things we've learned, because of our philosophies, because of those teachings that have come into our life already. So when Ketu's in Sagittarius, again, opposite Rahu in Rahu in Gemini, then we just kind of trust already that we have the wisdom. We don't need to cultivate and focus on the wisdom. Again, because where Ketu is, we're not putting as much attention, where we sort of think we're already covered in that area, so to speak. So when Ketu's in Sagittarius, we tend to think, okay, I have a basic understanding of, again, whatever the thing is. Certainly with Sagittarius, it's you know, my philosophies and my understanding and my hope and inspiration. I feel like I already sort of got that. So now I need to figure out how it works, which is the Rahu in Gemini. And again, this is how Sagittarius and Gemini work anyway. They work in tandem with each other. Gemini is about all the details, and Sagittarius is the bigger picture, how all those details fit into something bigger. Again, Sagittarius is that bigger picture, that thing like when Ketu is there, we just sort of trust in the universe and the wisdom and the dharma and the natural law of life. But Gemini is like, but how does it work? It's easy to believe in it because all you need to do is look up in the sky and look around and notice the beauty of life, and you can sort of trust that there's something bigger operating. But how does it work? You know, this is Gemini. I don't want to just believe in it. I have a brain. I have a mind. I want to understand how it works. So you can see how this axis really facilitates what both of the nodes are up to really well. And so, just last thing about the nodes is that both of them have a certain blindness and a certain unconscious nature, at least at first. You know, again, Rahu is the blindness or the naivete or the ignorance that says, well, I don't know what's going on, so I'm just going to try anything and see what happens. The way it really comes about is that wherever Rahu and Ketu are, or Ketu, it shows areas where we don't listen. We won't listen to anyone. And we won't listen to anyone, again, with Rahu, because I'm not here to listen. I'm here to experiment and try that thing and play with that thing and figure it out for myself. So don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do it myself. So Rahu, it's the independence that comes from the need of the soul to try it on our own. With Ketu, we don't listen to anyone because, well, I already know, I've been there, done that. I know all about that. Don't tell me anything about that. I get it. It's that kind of, I get it already, and I won't listen to what anybody says with Ketu, because I've already been there, done that, know what that's all about. And it is, at least as far as our soul is concerned, it's something that we've just really learned. It's something that we do probably have a lot of skill over and a lot of skill in. But again, there's arrogance because obviously the karma isn't finished. We're not expert because we're not enlightened yet. But with Ketu, it's the illusion that we've kind of perfected that thing, at least in relation to other people that we're going to interact with, or when we're being challenged or questioned to open up and have more intelligence and spaciousness. Ketu is the part of us that collapses around that and goes, no, I don't want to hear what you have to say about that. Whatever. No, I got that figured out already. So both of them create a kind of ignorance and blindness. One, because we think, because been there, done that, understand all about that. And the other one, Rahu, the opposite, says, I don't know anything about this, so I don't want to hear what you have to say. It's up to me to make all of these mistakes. This is how it comes about, because with Rahu, we have to make all these mistakes. We got a crow up there. Here he is. There's a crow up there. He likes the Rahu Ketu. See him right there? Oops, where is he? There he is. You got something to say? I'm always looking at omens. Saturn. That's a Saturn omen and a Rahu omen. He's dark, right? So he's Rahu up there saying, hey, what about me? I hear you, buddy. So with Rahu, it's the blindness that says, I don't want to hear what you have to say. It's up to me to make my own mistakes. I'm going to make my own mistakes. I understand you're just trying to help me. You're just trying to counsel me. And you're trying to help me avoid making all the stupid mistakes that I might make. But I don't care. I'm going to keep making them. It's like, I decide when I stop taking drugs, going out, drinking, dancing, and throwing up. I decide when I'm finished with that. You don't decide, I decide. Right? And Ketu, again, it's like, you can't tell me what to do. I already know all about it. So they both have a certain blindness, and they both evolve over time. In our mid-40s, that extreme of the nodal axis calms down, right? The extreme calms down after our mid-40s. I think this bird's gonna poop on my head. This is cool, huh? By the mid-40s, that extreme of the nodal axis calms down, and we're no longer so driven. He just flew away. That was cool. So instead of it being, let's say it's in the 4-10 axis, instead of Rahu in the 4th saying it's totally up to me to find my emotional center, and no matter what you say, I'm going to be as irrational and emotional as I want, and I'm not going to pay any attention to external responsibilities, which would be K2 in the 10th. By the time we get our mid-40s, the extremes start to calm down. And we've already had a nodal return, a reverse nodal return. We've had 2 of them. So it starts to calm down a little bit. So Rahu Gemini, Ketu Sagittarius for you. Very interesting.